Wishing you all a very happy new year. Hello everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Financially Speaking, conversations powered by IndiaFirst Life. I am Sunanda Roy, your host for this episode. I'm country head for Bank of Baroda channel at IndiaFirst Life. Today's episode tackles a subject that is on everyone's mind: planning for the new year, resolutions. Financial, physical, and mental. How to get to your 2022 in order and make success on each front a certainty. During this time of the year, goal setting and making resolutions is on everyone's to-do list. New Year's resolutions provide us with the opportunity to discover ways we can improve our lives and make meaningful changes. Some people may be thinking about taking a vacation. Some may have intended to join a gym or start a new diet. And the list continues. However, more than half of all resolutions usually fail unless you build discipline. Stick to the resolution for an extended period. For instance, think about your financial well-being. Review your current budget. Resolve pending debt, if any. Make wise investments. And most importantly, start planning for achieving your financial goals, which will be our main topic for the podcast. So without further ado, let's welcome our guests and gain a better understanding from their experiences. Today's guests include an industry professional and an entrepreneur, and they would each share their distinct approaches and viewpoints on financial resolutions. So please join me in welcoming Manika Juneja, a marketer with over 12 years of experience. She has a strong understanding of market research and consumer behavior, which allows her to consult and drive integrated digital activities and transformation for a variety of brands. Additionally, she was named the Social Samosa Social Media Superwoman in 2018 and 2019 and has been actively contributing as a thought leader in the digital industry. Our second guest, we have Kenish Shah, the co-founder of PropReturns.com, India's leading and fastest growing real estate investment marketplace to invest in properties backed by data. Kenish is a civil engineer and finance dual degree graduate from BITS Pilani. With PropReturns, Kenish plans to build the largest real estate investment ecosystem in India and make property investing as simple and transparent as investing in stocks. Well, if I have missed on anything, do add in your self-introduction. Yes, Monica, do you have something else to share about yourself with our audience today?
Thank you, Sunanda, for the kind introduction. First of all, thanks for inviting me to this podcast series. I would like to wish all the listeners and you all a very happy and a healthy 2022. So by the way of introduction, I'm a Marcom professional who is also passionate about advertising and marketing, and that's how I landed into the job I'm at. I never skip an opportunity to watch any advertisement on any platform, whether it is TV, theaters, outdoors, or even digital for that matter. I'm from a small city named Ujjain, and now I'm settled in Mumbai for the last 10 and a half years. On a personal front, I'm an explorer, a Bollywood buff, and a big-time street food lover. So in the coming time, you will get to see the hints of a lot of these things put together. So thank you once again, Sunanda, for the kind introduction.
Thanks very much, Manika, and welcome once again. Yes, Kenish, would you want our audience to know something that I probably wouldn't have captured in your introduction?
Sure, definitely. First of all, thank you so much, Sunanda, for the kind introduction and wishing everyone on this podcast or listening to this podcast a happy new year. So, a little bit which I think was not covered is I'm a serial entrepreneur. I think this is my fourth startup, and I've been an entrepreneur for the last 6 years. And I love real estate, love playing football, and that's really what I'm passionate about building products and creating an impact in the Indian real estate investment ecosystem. So thanks everyone, and over to you, Sunanda.
Thanks very much. That sounds great. Thanks once again and welcome, Kenish. Okay, let's kick off today's discussion by talking about New Year's resolutions. What are yours? What are your key goals for 2022 in terms of work, play, and rest? Let's start with you, Manika.
Okay, interesting. So, it is always said that there are very few people who keep up with their New Year resolutions throughout the year. And I'm sure all of us at some given point in time must have been in that phase, including our listeners. So, this year, I really want to keep up with my resolutions and goals and made a short and a very crisp list. So, you know what? My list has things that I know will definitely bring me joy. And that's how I have zeroed down to, the items that or the goals that I have in mind for myself this year. In the current times, it may seem tough, but one of the things that I'm hoping to get back to as soon as possible is travel. And I'm sure many of our listeners and you guys would also relate to it. And I'm really hoping to resume my travel and food exploration spree this year. My plan is to live up to my hobbies, which is intertwined with travel, and that's my love for riding bikes. So I hope in 2022, it's a year that is filled with bike rides for me on a personal front. Another thing that many other people also will have in their list of resolution is to prioritize fitness and to venture into this thing. I want to learn and explore kickboxing. The next one for me, from a learning standpoint, is to make time for reading. Reading about new topics, history, financial planning, self help books, a little bit more about the bitcoins and cryptos in the financial world. And last but not the least, if the situation outside will permit, I would love to meet and spend time with my loved ones in person. I'm so tired of this virtual setup that I just can't wait to go out to in-person meetings and really share those bonds back with people. For me, 2022 is a little personal. I think we owe a lot to ourselves, especially after the hectic previous years, and that's how I've prioritized my goals for the year.
Thanks, Manika. Really great to hear that. Quite exciting. All the best for your goals for 2022, Manika.
Thanks, Ananda.
Okay, let's hear from Kenish. What are your key goals for 2022?
So this is a tough one, actually, and I just wrote down my New Year resolution, I think 2 days back, um, and I love doing that. But a lot of those fail. But I think this time I'm very confident I can achieve them because I've made it more realistic. But mainly, I think being an entrepreneur, I think really want to increase my knowledge about topics like real estate, finance, leadership, tech, startups, etc. So definitely want to spend more time, at least 25 minutes daily, to read, educate myself, either reading a book or some article. I think second thing which Manika mentioned is fitness. Really want to focus on maintaining my weight because obviously during COVID and especially with this current situation right now, again everything stopped, and I think it's going to be work for home for a long time. So I think fitness is something very important. Third, I think most importantly, I want to focus on two things. One is especially COVID made me realize the importance of passive income, and I think I want to spend this year more educating myself about investing into stocks, mutual funds, and obviously other investments, including real estate, and also want to spend more uh, to donate to poor people. Mainly, I would say on the healthcare or the education forefront as well. I think that's where a lot of potential is there in India. Yeah, apart from that, I think one thing I learned last year is, this year, which I want to change, is I need to start accepting failures and, in fact, work harder if you fail, and definitely be more patient about things which are not in my control. So these are, I would say, my short New Year resolutions. But and obviously travel. I think, like Manika mentioned, I want to travel to one uh, base camp, either Everest, but I haven't really decided. But that is something which I want to achieve. Thanks.
Brilliant, Manika and Kenish, to hear your passionate, and it seems that both of you are steadfast with your goals. I think these two are the key attributes which can really make our goals come true. So thanks very much for sharing with our audience. Okay, so I would like to ask Manika now, as an experienced professional, what parameters do you consider while making your New Year resolutions? Does reflecting on previous resolutions help you plan better?
So, like Kenish also mentioned, that one should not shy away from failures and learn from it. So while the idea of making New Year's resolution might energize and excite each one of us at the start of the year, but as the year passed by, sometimes we often feels too difficult to sort of cramp in a lot of things in our busy schedules and see through our plans, and sometimes we fail. But we should not get demotivated over there. It is definitely hard to stick to a New Year resolution if your heart is not on it. So I believe learning from the past year will definitely help do some self-analysis, and hence reflection before resolution becomes very, very crucial. One could do this by self-reflecting questions. This will also help in deciding how you want your year to look like, and it will ultimately inspire you to take action towards the goals. Then the next thing which crops up in my mind is, if you have aim to achieve your goals, it is better if a focused list is made, a short and a crisp list is made. The goals are broken down into small action items, and then chasing them to meet the overall goal for the year that you have set yourself will make the process little easier. For me, this year, my mantra will be to celebrate small achievements. That will also help me be on track and a little bit motivated. And this will also push me to achieve my goals well within the timeline. One more thing which I think is helpful is when you make your goals public. When I say public, to a trusted friend or a partner, you put in more effort to live up to those commitments if you make them public. This is a natural human behavior. So I think once you announce it to them, they will also nudge you a little and ask you questions when it is needed, especially when you go off track. But like I said earlier, if you go off track, don't be too harsh on yourself. Unlike all previous years, this year again, I've tried to keep my list short and crisp, so that I can focus on the goals while keeping my physical and mental health, well-being and health in check, both on professional and personal front. So yeah, that's my idea and suggestion with respect to the New Year resolutions.
So sticking to the plan is the key, as if I could summarize, and having your heart in the job, in the plan that you set off with, is the essential ingredient to make your plan work. So thanks, Manika, for sharing. Okay, so Kenish, as a young entrepreneur and a co-founder, how do you plan your resolutions?
Perfect. So I think resolutions as an entrepreneur are obviously from a personal standpoint as well as a company standpoint. But one thing which I've learned in the past couple of years is obviously when I was in university, a lot of people have goals that I want to get, for example, a 9 CGPA, or ultimately I want to uh, like want to achieve something in this 1 year. Rather, what I do is and what I've learned is you need to break down resolutions into three parts. One is what do you want to achieve, right? Second is what you need to do on a daily basis to achieve that goal, and what you need to do on a monthly basis to achieve that goal. Because just having a goal like 9 CGPA, you might not achieve it, but you have to plan and, like Manika said, break it down into daily and monthly so that you can achieve a 9 CGPA. So as an entrepreneur, you have to continuously plan very well in advance. I think for the year or even a few days or weeks before something actually happens, because being a co-founder of a company, um, it's 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 very erratic, right? Things are very spontaneous, and that's what we plan in our company. That we need, if we have to achieve certain goals, we have to follow a certain discipline or timeline, what we need to do on a daily or a monthly basis. And like Manika said, right, even if you uh, fail in certain of your resolutions, at least you followed uh, something on a continuous daily or monthly basis, even if you don't reach your goal. So that's where the discipline really comes into play. So that's how I plan my resolutions. Like I said, divided into three parts, and just make a note of everything from a company as well as a personal standpoint. And definitely, everyone in your company should write down their goals, what they want to achieve personally as well as for your company, because that continuously keeps the team motivated.
Thanks, Kenish. Great to hear that. So, if I have to summarize what both you and Manika actually expressed, is that we need to first define the objective, have the goal, and then break it down into parts so that you make the goals achievable. You make the goals reasonable from a mindset so that you can drive those goals relentlessly. And even if you face failures, you can stand up and still drive and persevere those goals. So thanks, Kenish. Okay, so Manika, some resolutions may have an impact on finances. What are your suggestions on planning on one's finances to support resolutions?
So, Sunanda, I feel there's no right or wrong way to do financial planning because it is different for different people, uh, basis their needs and goals. But definitely, some guardrails should be kept in mind while you are doing so that the checks and balances are in place, and uh, it's a 360-degree healthy planning which is being done. So I believe one should plan in ways that matter to them the most from an overall goal standpoint. But definitely to ensure that the benefits are reaped in rather than letting go of the hard earned money wasted. These things should definitely be kept in mind even when you are planning for the new year resolutions that could bring in extra expenses to your pocket. So for instance, I think if healthy eating is there on your list for uh, for the new year resolution, you should go for homemade food, which would give you the same results rather than only thinking and looking at following high end ingredients and fat diets. That's not the way to look at it. Just change in perspective and sinking in with your goals will bring in the same sort of results that possibly the extra expense on your pocket could save up to. So, in terms of fitness, if your goal is towards fitness, one can opt for home workouts as an option rather than going for a gym membership, which you're not going to use for the entire year. So, again, break it down into pieces. Don't go for like a yearly membership. Possibly go for a monthly membership. Once you get into that habit, then sort of take the next expense hit and then it will not sound like a hit, but ultimately it will be in sync with your overall goal. I remember at the beginning of last year when I was actually writing down my goals for 2021. I took a marker and wrote like, no shopping in caps on the inner door panel of my wardrobe, and it is still there. And yes, I sailed through the year by not only, shopping for clothes and other items when it was absolutely necessary. I went with that rather than, just sort of spending too much unnecessarily on buying things which one is not going to use for maybe months and years. So it was a commitment I made that helped me manage my finances also. And on the other hand, I still shopped, but I spent my money on bonds and mutual funds rather than the regular clothes and other items per se. So checks and balances are key to manage finances really well. Saving, in my view, is not an option anymore, but it's a must to do item when you are uh, actually doing financial planning. It should be a habit that one should pay attention to. Another one could be a target to actually improve the credit score, because it will force you to limit your credit based transactions. It will force you to make payments on time and not get charged for the late payment of your credit card fee, etc. And most importantly, you should have an emergency fund, but the emergency fund shouldn't be touched until and unless there is an absolute emergency, and not like I just want to make a expense because I feel like, and theek hai baad mein dekh lenge. So you will feel more at peace all through the year if your finances are under control and planned really, really well. So according to me, everything is intertwined, but at the same time, planning should be kept in sync with your overall goals.
Thanks, Manika. Every point is impactful, whatever you conveyed. And if I could just add my two bit, I would probably say that you keep aside the money before you can even start spending. So great. Kenish, what are your suggestions on planning one's finances to support resolutions?
So I agreed to Manika that you need to keep the financial spending aligned with your goals, but at the same time you need to give yourself a break, right? You need to spend a little bit of money on leisure, entertainment, and other things. You cannot be very, very harsh on yourself. And uh, for example, right, whatever, as an entrepreneur, whatever income I make or my company makes, we try to allocate it mainly into different buckets. So obviously, majority of the bucket, like Manika said, although saving is very difficult, we want to allocate to saving that money for an emergency fund, etc. Um, and I think the other three buckets would be definitely, I think, investments, um, leisure, entertainment, and the last would be you should always keep aside some money, uh, to doing some good work. I think that will bring a lot of happiness. It brings to me as an entrepreneur. Good work can be anything, maybe a charity donation, anything, right? So I think that's how I plan my financial spending into four buckets. Like I said, good work, investments, leisure, and savings. So savings obviously includes the emergency fund, and I think that's very, very important. Uh, but definitely, I think don't be too harsh on yourself, but definitely keep some money aside. Like Manika said, investing in bonds, mutual funds, stocks, real estate. You need to start making investments because it's. I think COVID has made all of us realize that it's your investments which will reap and not your monthly salary. Uh, so yeah, I think that's what I wanted to talk about. Yeah.
Thanks, Kenish. Really insightful. Okay, so my next question, I will ask Manika to respond. With the ongoing pandemic, since the past 2 years, what are some changes you are both making in your lives as well as businesses in terms of goal setting? So Manika, you may go first.
All right. Thanks, Sunanda. I think I'm not sure if the pandemic has ended or the waves will keep coming our way. But having said that, there's no denying that the last 2 years have been really, really tough, both professionally and personally, for various people. While I don't want to sound very pessimistic, but I still think we are far away from going back to normalcy. And I spoke about it earlier as well, that yes, the times are very, very different right now. But these years changed many aspects of life for various people. For me, the key lessons I've learned over the past 18 to 24 months actually come down to the basics, such as looking after yourself and your loved ones, taking care of the people who are in need around you, uh, surrounding yourself with the right set of people, focusing on what drives you, understanding and practicing compassion, patience, because these are the little things and values that matter the most at the end of the day. And rest of the things will definitely fall in place. So I've recently read somewhere that try to ditch your all or nothing mindset. So take baby steps, start, but don't wait for the right or wrong time. Just start. That's the most important thing. List down the short and long term objective, align them with your returns and expectations of ROI. For example, for short term, you can look at investing in fixed income instruments, which will give you moderate returns. But for the longer term, investing in equity is possibly a better option. Another thing, which comes to my mind is the most uh, 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 common factor between working professionals is that they only rely on the group insurance cover provided by the employer. I think a change in this habit, because reassessing the insurance cover for the family is a must, and decisions should be taken accordingly rather than just relying on what the company is providing. A piece of advice I would like to share with our listeners is to allocate a day in a month, a dedicated day in a month to check on your financial health and track your financial goals. Either maintain a document or a folder or a diary, document on a drive, according to your liking, but this must be done. It will help in monitoring investment. If there is any surplus amount which can be redeployed somewhere to fulfill your financial planning and goals, uh, account the unaccounted expenses that were not a part of the list, check the cash flow, review the credit report. So this will also help, being a step closer to the goal and pull you back on track in case of any discrepancy. So according to me, one must have at least 5 to 6 months of cash reserve on hand, either as fixed deposit or liquid funds for emergency, because these times are really, really testing. So I would say plan, save, track, analyze, and repeat the entire process, but with discipline. I think Kenish also mentioned it earlier that discipline is the key. So, yes, it is to maintain the overall aspect of financial goal setting in personal life as well as business and for the company also.
Thanks, Manika. The key word seems to be discipline, which is a common theme that is coming out from both underlying theme from what you are conveying and what Kenish has to share with all of us out here. Okay, so Kenish, what are your views with the pandemic at the backdrop?
So I think pandemic has taught me personally, I think the value of time, and that I think because of the pandemic, because things are shifting online, I don't know if everyone has that issue, but the day has become more busier. And what I've really changed in my personal life is whatever I'm working on, because there are so many things as an entrepreneur you work on in a day. I think just writing down at the end of the day what impactful, what did you do impactful today, who did you meet, what did you learn. I think that's really, really important. And I think another thing in my personal life, right, I think Manika obviously briefed highly on that, is understanding the importance of emergency funds. I've started saving a lot, especially, and investing also a lot, and want to increase that this year as well. uh, so I think just start your day with things you want to do, end your day with what you did impactful, spend your time, assessing, like Manika briefed, how much you're spending, where are you spending, etc. And I think this online shopping has impacted all of us in a negative way. Although their business has increased in COVID, but not really good for all of us. So yeah, I think, and obviously a lot of focus on exercise. Obviously, because of the pandemic, we weren't able to exercise that much outside. So I think that's very, very important. And when it comes from a business perspective, again, I would highly stress on it that the pandemic made us realize that income is not recurring, income is not predictable. So you have to save, you have to diversify into other revenue streams, because you never know when that stream of revenue will stop as an entrepreneur. So you have to continuously learn, meet people. I think that's the number one way I have learned to become an entrepreneur or become a successful entrepreneur, is just meeting people and discovering, talking to them, where else can, as a company, where else can you expand, or which stream can you open up tomorrow in case the previous stream of income just fails, right? And that's what pandemic has taught us. So I think lastly, I would highly like to stress that because of the pandemic, I think just it has made me realize, as an entrepreneur, obviously everyone has a busy day, but you should highly spend at least 30, 45, 1 hour, 30, 45 minutes with your family. You know, I think that's really, really important. Um, so, yeah, I think that's mainly what I wanted to talk about, how the pandemic impacted me as well as my business, and what I'm changing in both of them. So, yeah, thanks, Sunanda.
Sure, sure. Thanks, Kenish. So, Kenish, lastly, what are your closing thoughts for our audience so that they can have a prosperous 2022?
I would highly, I would say, don't count New Year's as the only day to make a resolution. I think every day make a new resolution, every day set goals. Just let 2022 flow, right? Don't panic, or don't be, don't be really very, very optimistic about things happening. I think, you can be ambitious, but not over optimistic. So highly, I would suggest that let every day be a resolution, right? Every day set goals, every week set goals. And when it comes to finances, plan for the worst case. I think in terms of both earning and spending, just plan for the worst case, because 2022 is very unpredictable. At least I think the last 2-3 days have made us show that have showed us that anything can happen, and now obviously with the cases increasing. So be ready for what comes your way. Set goals every week, and mainly just continuously plan from a worst case scenario in terms of finances.
Wonderful, Kenish. So, Manika, what advice would you give our young working audience who aspire to make a difference in 2022?
So I can't agree with Kenish more on the points that he covered. Just to add to that, I would say have a go-getter approach. But at the same time, please take care of your physical and mental well-being, because a healthy body and a sound mind will lead to achieving all the aspirations and the goals that one has planned. And I think, being with the right side of people, talking to them regularly, creating a positive and a happy environment around you will definitely impact the way you work, the way you sort of conduct yourself on a daily basis. And these small little things will actually lead to making big differences in 2022. Um, it is really important to have a balance of health, lifestyle, and financial goal in the overall 2022 annual goals. But while you do so, if in case you need any professional assistance or better understanding, one should never shy away in seeking that sort of a help. This will ultimately lead to better investment options and some unexplored avenues which you are not aware of. I also feel that in case people want to opt for a small little course on personal finance management, etc. That is also an interesting avenue to explore to enhance the financial knowledge and help put in your goals in a better format and actually achieving them. But last but not the least, most importantly, it all ultimately boils down to execution, because executing the plans step by step, keep tracking those baby steps to attain your overall goal is the most important thing. And just before I sum up, I would say that celebrate all joys, whether small or big, with your loved ones and at home or at work, and make a difference in lives of people for a better 2022.
Brilliant. Thanks, Manika. And I'm just kind of trying to take a leaf from both your conversations and what you shared with our audience today. From my end, I wish to leave this thought behind with our audience. Build discipline and stick to the resolution for an extended period. For example, if you go to the gym at the beginning of the year and work out for 2 to 3 hours each day for the next 10 days, you would not see any material difference in your physique. And that is the time most of us would drop the resolution of a gym, because we do not see any instant change or immediate benefits. But I promise, if you visit the gym every day for 30 minutes only and continue the activity in a disciplined manner throughout the year, you would certainly see the change in your physique over time. And this is true with any resolution that we make in life. So with finances, make a plan, build discipline, be patient, and stick to the plan every month to reap the harvest over time and achieve your financial goal. I thank you once again, Manika and Kenish, for joining today's podcast and sharing your resolutions for the new year.
Thank you, Sunanda.
Thank you, Sunanda.
Thanks very much.
It was lovely knowing a bit more about Kenish and you, Sunanda. So great to connect with you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sunanda. Thank you, Manika. It was a pleasure being on this podcast.
Thank you. So now you know how and why you should focus on financial resolutions while maintaining your physical and emotional well-being. Also, instead of setting lofty or unrealistic goals, break them down into smaller and manageable goals. Remember to focus on them and celebrate the small victories. Make steady progress and ultimately succeed. Well, with that, I wish you and your loved ones a prosperous and joyful new year. Let us know what you think of today's episode and stay tuned for the next. Thank you very much.